What's up, Accelerators.org? This is my first ever mentor session, and so I really hope the sound works and my camera works and all that stuff. So I've got a bunch of questions for my first live stream, so I will wait for some feedback though, if you guys can actually hear me, because it would be a shame for me to go rambling on for 15 minutes only to realize that no one's actually heard a word I said. Alright, I'll just get started and hope for the best. Feeling lucky today. So, the first question today comes from Kristen Lander, who asked, is there a threshold for percentage of revenue that we take home that we should be aiming to stay within? Background of the question. As I scale my coaching company, I'm paying out about 46% of revenue to my 1099 contractors and about 15% commission to partnerships with other businesses. This means I'm retaining as low as 39% of revenue with clients brought on in partnerships before expenses, which right now are fairly low, but that doesn't leave much room for me to hire admin until I've significantly increased my profits. Is this just a normal part of the process, or should I be considering changing something as I continue to scale and bring on more contractors and partners? My prices are already at the high end in my industry, so raising prices right now probably isn't a good solution. Okay, so as always, this really depends on a lot of factors. So first of all, what exactly do those 1099 contractors do? Are they actually coaching your clients, or are they fulfilling other roles while you are the one who's fulfilling on the main service? That would be the first question I ask, because if you're basically bringing on new clients and keeping almost 40% of revenue and you don't have to do a lot of the work, then that sounds like a great revenue percentage, to cover expenses. At least that sounds like great to me. Whereas, if from that 40% you still have to basically pay yourself because you're the one doing the work, then it doesn't sound so good anymore. Another thing I would consider is, how scalable is your system? I'm not really sure how many clients you have right now, but if you have, 5, 10 clients and you have a low revenue percentage, that might be a problem. If your system is scalable, on the other hand, because you have all these contractors who are actually fulfilling on your service and you're keeping 40% of the revenue, that's an amazing percentage. I mean, think about, credit card companies make billions of dollars off of whatever that is, 2.9%, 1.4%. So it's really, with these percentages, it really depends on the number of clients you have and the amount of work that you are personally doing. So I would have to know a bit more about your background in that. But, as a general rule, let's see, we do about 20% of gross sales in profit, and I would say we are fairly profitable. We have, our company has quite a lot of, salary costs. It has quite a lot of material costs. So it really also depends on your type of business. Basically, for a coaching company, the number one expense you have would probably be paying out your contractors or your employees. So, it sounds to me like you're already in a fairly good percentage range. One other thing that I would really be looking at though is, as far as I understand, this is basically customer acquisition. So you're bringing on these coaching clients, and right now you have one revenue stream coming in from those coaching clients. One thing that I actually learned in AO very early on is it's not always just about, customer acquisition and how much money do we make off of those customers up front, but it's much more about, how do we ascend the relationship with those customers and make sure that we are actually getting more money per customer. Dan Kennedy has this saying, if you follow the ClickFunnels community at all, which is whoever can pay the most money to acquire a customer wins, which basically means that, hey, if other people in your niche or your industry just bring on the coaching clients, they have a monthly retainer, they pay them whatever, $1,000, and that's it, and they have to acquire new customers to increase revenue. But your company, in addition to doing that, upsells various other services and products, like let's say you have a live event, let's say you have a mastermind program, and you basically bring your best customers who want more from you into those more expensive tiers. Then you can basically outspend all of your competition on customer acquisition, simply because you make way more money on the back end than they do. That's actually the way that we are scaling our company. Our business is a magazine publisher, and all our competition is just selling magazines at street vendors and subscriptions. And I have way more ways to basically ascend my relationship with my customers, so I make a lot more money per customer than my competition does. So that would really be something I would encourage you to look into, which is, how can you scale revenue on the back end as opposed to trying to bring on, 5 times this many clients. Because, at the end of the day, the more clients you have, the more work you're also going to have, and the more problems you're also going to have. So, how can you make the most money per problem, if I can say it that way. Okay, hope this helps, but, feel free to reach out if, you have any other details. I did make a couple of assumptions in this answer, so if I got any of the details wrong, then, please let me know if something is actually different. Okay, next question comes from Nico Avila, and their question is, what, in your opinion, is the best way to market an affiliate product from websites like Clickbank? Background of the question. Affiliate marketing has interested me for quite some time. Every video I watch, however, always seems to point to a different way to get the best ROI. I understand there are a ton of ways to market products, native ads, social media ads, Google ads, etc. But right now I feel like I am dealing with paralysis through over-analysis. Thanks for any recommendations. Okay, again, before answering your actual question, I would have a question for you as well, which is, what are your reasons for wanting to go into affiliate marketing? I'm not saying it's a bad option, but I am saying that, versus marketing your own products and services, it does have a lot of drawbacks, mainly that you are basically dependent on whoever else provides the products that you're going to be marketing as an affiliate. And, you might be able to increase your income that way, but you're not really going to be building long-term a business that provides you with equity. You're not really going to be building a business which, one day you're going to be able to exit and sell. It's certainly possible that you're going to be able to build a good income if you're actually promoting a good affiliate program and you actually know how to do it. But I would encourage you also to think about the long term of that decision, whether you basically want to help build somebody else's business or if you want to focus on building your own. And, what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing actually is they might get started as an affiliate and get experience so that when they do start their own thing and have their own products, they already have marketing and sales experience at somebody else's company without having to go and be an employee. So that's certainly one way to look at it. Just, be aware of what your goals are and what you're hoping to get out of the whole affiliate game. Because, there are people that make, a lot of money as affiliates, but those are really, maybe the top 1% of affiliates out there. And there's a lot of people that don't make a lot of money. So, just have a look. But anyway, regarding your question, which is basically analysis paralysis, I actually learned all of my online marketing skills, through stuff that I found online. it really didn't come from formal education or anything, but also, I don't really have experience in affiliate marketing per se. One thing I would recommend, which has worked for me in the past, is, really decide on, just one person, one program, one source of information, and, just put the blinders on and go deep with that one source of information. So for me personally, I actually had two, so I'm kind of, okay, two and one, but I use both for different things. So like, AO was basically my source for all things about how to actually build a business, how to manage a business, how to manage employees, like all the big strategic stuff. And all of my marketing skills basically came from this guy, Russell Brunson, whose books I can't recommend enough if you're looking to get started in online marketing. I'm not saying his way is the only way, but, for me it has worked tremendously well. Basically, just reading his strategies and ideas and adopting them to my situation. So, if you're looking for one awesome online marketing system to follow, I would really just Google like, hey, does Russell Brunson, and his company is ClickFunnels, so does Russell Brunson and or ClickFunnels have any training on affiliate marketing? Now, given the fact that they do run a very big affiliate program, I would be willing to bet that they probably have a ton of affiliate training. Maybe you have to sign up to become their affiliate, but hey, it's probably free anyway, and you'll get the training. So, really just look into that, because if there is one person whose stuff I would recommend in terms of giving you a turnkey system in online marketing, that would be this guy. You can also read his books, which, the first one that I love the most is .com Secrets. It really is the best online marketing book in the world, in my opinion. And, just see if the way they explain things work for you. Like, it worked for me, it may not work for you, but, in my opinion, the best way, and in my experience as well, the best way to get out of analysis paralysis is to simply pick one coach, one mentor, one source of information, whoever works for you. It should be someone that, you really resonate with, someone that you look up to, and just follow their system and see if it works for you. Like, that's the only way, because, if you're going from webinar to the 4th online course and reading 3 blogs and whatever, like, you're going to have so much conflicting information, and of course you're going to have analysis paralysis. That's just the way it works. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Okay, the next question comes from Cuipo Pereira. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Question they asked: what should I pay a person weekly to manage my social media accounts and website? Background of the question: I'm a small, smart startup, and he's good with building websites, but has never managed social media, so I'm wondering how much I should pay him. Okay, so if he's only gonna be managing your social media accounts, which means, like my social media manager, basically they post the posts that I give them at the schedule that I give them, they moderate my comments, they ban any nasty people from my comment feed, answer any messages that come to my Facebook or Instagram page. So those are like the basic 3 areas for a social media person to actually do your posting, to answer messages coming in through your page or forward them to you if it's something that they can tell you should be answering, and basically look at comments, answer positive feedback, and hide, ban, delete with the bad stuff, because there's a lot of nasty people out there on social media, and this is a personal choice, but I don't want them on my feed, for example. But anyway, these are not very highly skilled tasks. So, in my case, like, this is always something that a college student who's basically not even interning, like they're basically getting an hourly wage depending on the number of hours they work, and that's it. So like, it's probably at my company, it's like, I would say it's probably like the lowest paid position, probably it's about the same level as someone doing like basic inventory work or doing some stuff at the warehouse. So it really is not a highly skilled position. So, you definitely don't have to go way to, like, it's a typical minimum wage kind of position, unless they bring something really super extra to the table. So like, if in addition to those three things that I just told you about, they're actually coming up with the ideas for the posts, and if they're, maybe they're a good graphic designer and they're actually creating the designs, and maybe they're going through your videos and talks you've given and like stuff that they can repurpose content from, and actually creating your social media posts for you, that's a different story. Like, that would, in my mind, at least double their value proposition, if not more. But, really basically what you're going to be paying them depends on how complex social media management you're getting from them. So yeah, you said he's good with building websites. Like, building websites is definitely the higher paid skill of the two. So, a good rule of thumb, so that you actually offer him something that would be acceptable, is like, hey, like, what do you pay for them to manage your website, for example? And like, for me, that would be the maximum for social media management. I would probably try and go lower than that. But those are my guidelines. Like, I don't know your location and what people make in your area. Like, I'm out here in Hungary, so like, we can get skilled labor for dirt cheap, but you can always hire someone from overseas as well. So, next question from Kuipo Pereira as well. How can I get college students to follow me on social media? Background of the question. I work in a business plaza where there is a college and it's swarming with college students. How can I get them to my website or to follow me on social media? Should I do a small giveaway, pass out QR code stickers, etc.? Okay, so this is an interesting question because there's actually a much deeper background to it. So first of all, yes, you can do all of those things that you just mentioned to get them to follow you on your social media. So like, whatever value you can provide in exchange for them following you, it's just something you have to test to see what works best. But, again, I would really encourage you to look at why do you want them to follow you on social media, and which social media channels are you considering in basically, investing all of this time and effort into, and, sometimes even money, because if you give them like a giveaway or something, that's an investment as well. So the basic problem with social media, like, if this was 5 or 10 years ago, I would say, heck yeah, get, everyone following you, because when you post, your post actually reaches your followers. Nowadays, it really doesn't. So there is a thing in social media marketing which is called organic reach, which means, let's say I have 1,000 people following my Facebook page, and I post something on my newsfeed through my business profile. What percentage of my 1,000 followers is that post gonna show up in their newsfeed? And right now, that's usually, for most Facebook pages, it's about 3 to 5%. So imagine you get, you spend all of this time and energy into, getting 1,000 college students, which is, in terms of marketing in person, that's a lot of people, to get 1,000 people to follow you on social media. So you invest all of this time and effort, and you send out a post like, hey, we have this new cool offer coming to my store, and out of the 1,000 people that you've gathered, you reach 30 to 50. And with like a typical response rate, maybe 1 or 2 of them will show up. So that's on Facebook. Instagram is slightly better, but it's also going downhill fairly fast. So, there it might be 10-15%, but it's still not a lot. TikTok right now is probably the only platform actually which gets you a lot of organic reach. But then again, like, TikTok is not your typical business profile kind of social media site. It's much more, something that you use to reach, a much larger audience that's not necessarily targeted in one geographic area. TikTok is much better for, getting a wide reach in a lot of areas, like if you're wanting to do something at least on the state or national level. But yeah, for a typical business profile, which most businesses use Facebook and Instagram, organic reach is going way down. And you may have noticed that the older the platform, the lower the organic reach is. This is because basically whenever a new social media platform comes out, and this was the case way back when Facebook was, small and expanding its user base, same thing with Instagram, and same thing with TikTok now. Basically, when a platform is new, they want to incentivize people to jump on the platform because, hey, why would I go and start a TikTok if my performance on TikTok is going to be the same as on Facebook? I already have a Facebook page, and so they incentivize me hey, if you come and post videos to TikTok instead of Facebook, instead of reaching 5% of your 1,000 followers, you'll reach all of your 1,000 followers, plus we'll blast it out to, who knows how many tens of thousands of people, because TikTok has crazy organic reach right now. But it was actually the same in the early days of Instagram and the same in the early days of Facebook as well, because they all wanted to bring on new people onto the platform. And basically what happens over time is these platforms reach saturation, which is they already have enough users, and then they start monetizing, hey, now we're basically interested in letting, large businesses reach their audience. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start limiting your organic reach, and we'll make you pay for ads in order to reach your own audience. And so, it's basically like a pay-to-play system. And it's fine if you already have, well-established online marketing system and you can actually afford to pay for ads and know what your numbers are, so that, you're not spending crazy money on ads only to find out that you're, not even breaking even. But long story short, and this was actually a very, not even short, long story long. But anyway, I would really re-evaluate your goals for why you want people to follow you on social media and which social media channels you're looking to invest your energy and your efforts into. Basically, in my business, I have never cared how many people follow us on social media. And we do have a fairly large Facebook page, about 75,000 people at this point. But hey, I post something and I reach 2,000 of that 75K. So basically, when I'm looking at hey, how can I get people to come into my world, I'm not looking at social media or something general on my website. I'm looking at how can I generate leads. And leads are basically people that have shown an interest in your business or your products, and you have their contact information that you can use to reach out to them on demand. The way I do it is I build an email list. So basically, instead of encouraging people to follow me on social media, I ethically bribe them with a lead magnet, which is, something that's valuable to your audience. And, as I said way at the beginning, I think you're on the right track. You can do giveaways, you can do, whatever stuff that gives value to your audience. But instead of getting them to follow you on social media, I would be in exchange for whatever value you are providing, I would be asking them for, maybe first name and email address. Simply because, the email address is yours. Your email list is your own. It's something that, it's your tangible asset. Whereas, your Facebook page or your Instagram page is basically, imagine you're renting it from Mark Zuckerberg, and he can change the renting terms whenever he wants. So if it's hey, we're gonna drop organic reach even lower, or if we're gonna raise the ad costs, it doesn't matter that these people follow your page, you're not gonna be able to reach them the way you did before. Whereas with something like an email list, you can always email them, and you obviously some of your emails are going to go into spam and promotions and whatever on Gmail, but you will still reach a much higher percentage of your audience than you ever would on social media. And yeah, like no one's ever going to make you pay for it, hopefully. Who knows what Gmail does. But anyway, I will encourage you to look at building your email list as opposed to building your social media. Social media is basically like a vanity metric at this point, especially for generating leads and sales. So yeah, one question I would encourage you to ask during the next mentor session is like, hey, please provide a bit more background on what your business is and who your customers are. And a really good use of our time would be to figure out like, hey, what could we offer as a lead magnet in order to ensure that the maximum percentage of people that we show this offer to are actually going to be converting and giving us their email address in exchange for whatever we are offering. So yeah, I went on for quite a bit of time with this one, but I hope that helps, even though yeah, I'm just hating on social media these days. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to get started. Anyway. Next question comes from Bob Geiger. I'm sorry, man, like, I know I butchered your name. Feel free to correct me and laugh at me. So anyway, the question they asked is, what is a good way to pre-launch a product and build an initial audience or email list? Background of the question. I wanted to test the demand for a new consumer product before investing time and money into creating it. My plan is to send traffic to a landing page with a Buy Now button. If a visitor clicks Buy Now, I am going to give a message that says, this product will be available soon. Add your email below to be the first in line to order when it is available. Do you believe this is an effective approach to test the market? If I collect enough emails, would that be a strong buying indicator? The product I am considering creating will track data while playing the game beer pong. The tracking device would then send data to the cloud, and players could view their stats and leaderboards from a website. I expect the retail price to be $200 to $300. Okay. So a couple of good ideas here and a couple of bad ones. So basically testing demand before actually creating your product is always a good idea because you could learn so much just from doing this test. Sending traffic to a landing page, awesome. Buy Now button. Now this is where the problems begin. Imagine if you were the customer and, out of the thousands of ads that you are bombarded with every single day, your ad finally convinces you to click over to this landing page. You read the landing page, you fall in love with this product, you click Buy Now, and then boom, it's unavailable. I think that's a terrible thing from a customer experience point of view. Like literally the first experience you are giving your customer is a disappointment. Like they're going to be disappointed if they got to the point that they're willing to buy. They are already emotionally invested in the decision, like, yeah, this is awesome, I'm going to be playing beer pong with my buddies, and yeah, oh, it's unavailable. Boom, exit, never coming back. Because you're really talking about a first impression here. So the alternative approach, which I would really recommend, and by the way, this is the way I do basically all my online course launches, because I have used pre-sales to do quite a couple of online courses at this point. Some of them have been fairly successful. Basically just be as straight and honest upfront as you can possibly be. Like lying to your customers is never going to be a good solution, because basically like your product is out of stock, but you're pretending like it isn't, and you're trying to get them to show buying intent before you're telling them like, hey, it's actually not available. So this is really not the way I would do it. Like the way I have done my pre-sale launches is, I'm just 100% upfront and honest. Like the way I set the page up is like, hey, this is a pre-sale. We are going to be creating this product. This is what, the benefits of the products of the product is going to be. If it's an online course, these are the sections. If it's a product, these are the features, benefits, the meaning of those benefits. Then basically I give them a steep discount, like, hey, you are pre-ordering this product, like this is not yet ready, but we are planning on, creating the first batch and shipping them out on X date. But, basically in exchange for your trust in, buying something that doesn't even exist yet, obviously don't use those words, but this is the point, like they're giving you their trust. And so the way I always do pre-sales is I give them a steep discount, like I've given 50% off even, because they are literally paying for something that doesn't exist. But yeah, like that's the way to do it. Like make sure they understand, like, hey, we are gonna be creating this. It doesn't exist yet, but this is what it's gonna look like. These are the plans. This is what it's gonna do. These are why it's gonna be awesome. And like just think about it from the perspective of human beings. Like who would you rather do business with? Someone that has this exciting idea and you could be, one of the first in line when it finally launches and you get a steep discount, or someone that kind of tricks you like, hey, I'm going to kind of pretend like I have this product, but I actually don't. And so, honesty always pays off, whether it's, online marketing or going offline and just trying to do sales the old way. That's the way I would recommend. And by the way, don't just get their email address, get them to pay and sign up with their credit card. Like that's the way to do a pre-sale. Because it's cool to have a launch of or like an email list of people that said, maybe I'm interested, but it's way, way, way cooler to have a list of people that have actually paid you money to be part of your launch. Because, think about it again, honesty, like if you ask a bunch of random people like, hey, are you interested in this? 80% of people are like, yeah, I'm interested. But when launch day comes around and they actually have to get their credit cards and pay for something, it's interesting, but it's probably not for me, or maybe later, or I thought it would be good for a friend, but actually I don't know. Like you know how people are, like everyone's excited until they need to pay for something. So I would much rather have a pre-sale with 100 buyers than a pre-sale with 5,000 non-buyer leads. Because you have no idea at that point how many of those 5,000 people are actually going to convert into actual buyers. Whereas with, actually getting people to pay for the stuff in advance, you're actually generating cash flow. You don't have to pay for 100% of production costs and design and all that stuff out of your own pocket. You might even be cash flow positive in the creation process of your product if you actually manage to bring on buyers. Another thing that you might be interested in looking into is doing this as a Kickstarter. Now, all the stuff I said before, I have a lot of personal experience in. I myself have never done a Kickstarter, but this product kind of sounds like the exact type of product that a lot of people have done successful Kickstarters for. So if you're interested in learning more about pre-sales and the way I do them, hey, feel free to shoot me a direct message on Facebook. This is something we can jump on a Zoom call and discuss if you want. I have a lot of experience in this topic, but I would need to know a bit more about your specific business and where you're starting from to give you some more relevant feedback. Otherwise, you can also look at, hey, how to run a successful Kickstarter. I bet they have plenty of guides on that just on Google. So, the last question comes from Felicia Giselis. I hope I got that right. Please let me get that right. So anyway, question. What's the most effective way to begin organizing employee roles and job responsibilities? Background of the question. I have worked with my virtual assistant as a contractor for 5 years, and we both do it all. No clear boundaries or job roles. She's based in the Philippines and has worked with me for 5 years, and now she's asking for more money, but I'm not making enough yet to make that happen. She started at $7 an hour and now she makes 12. She turned her company into an agency and outsources a lot of the work to others who make a lot of mistakes, which is taking me more time and energy to double check all the time. I know there are areas where my business can be simplified and automated, but I'm not sure how to get all of this organized and where to begin. So it really seems to me like you actually have two questions in one. One of them is like, hey, how can you figure out job responsibilities? And the other thing is a revenue question, because you also said, like how do you pay for their raise? So I'll start with the job responsibilities question. So the way we do this at my company, and this is actually something I learned from an old mentor here in AO, was that we have these job descriptions sheets, and these are not like your typical corporate job descriptions, which is like, yeah, do this, and whatever else we give you. This is like, we actually took an inventory of every single process that we have going on inside the company. So I'm like, hey, admin, like bullet points, like these are all the things we do, like categorized and sorted out, like, like as part of fulfilling orders, what do we do, and part of marketing, like what do we do, like basically all the areas of our business we have. And by the way, we used Trello to do this, but you could just use a spreadsheet. You don't have to get complicated at all with apps. Like the first time I did it, I just used the Google Doc to having like marketing and then bullet points, like, hey, these are all the things that we actually do inside our business. So number one, I would do that, overall process sheet for your company as a whole. And then basically, the way I did it was like every single employee of mine had a job description, which is like, okay, like I took the bullet points from the overall company list and I just pasted them onto their job description. So like, let's say I have an admin person, and I have an admin processes or an admin roles part in my process sheet. Basically what I did is like, hey, like what part of the admin work do they do? Boom, on their job description. And so that allows me to do a couple of things. First of all, if there's something that's not on their job description that should be, it's easy for me to spot, because like, hey, I didn't copy, let's say, item number 5 from my admin list onto their job description. That probably means that I'm doing it. Why am I doing it when it's an admin thing and they're the admin person? So it allows me to reevaluate and discuss with them like, hey, I would like you to take on this additional piece of work as well. The other thing that it allows me to do, I have multiple employees, but it seems to me like you have you have one, but they are an agency. So you could do this with an agency as well, if you actually know like which people at the agency do which role, possibly. But basically the way I did it was, I also looked at, is there any task or any process which is on several people's job descriptions, and then evaluate, like, is this because I have built-in redundancy on purpose? So like, hey, I have 2 people who know how to do this task, because if someone goes out on vacation or gets ill, like I still have someone to cover for them. Or is this because, I'm not being efficient and basically I have 2 people doing the same job and basically tripping over each other? So yeah, it's fairly simple. Just get a spreadsheet, bullet points in each area of your business, and see okay, what are the things that you do? What are the things that this admin person does? and then see if there's a couple of changes that you might need to be making. Yeah, that's the way to actually start getting organized. Like you really cannot get organized until you actually know, like, hey, what are all of the processes inside my business? And you're actually in a lucky situation, because when you get started doing this, when it's just you and a couple of employees, you're going to have such an easy time compared to when you start doing this with 15 employees and you're like, phew, how do I even interview everyone to figure out like what everyone's doing? But anyway, better start this early on, like right now. And another thing that you could look at once you have this list is like, try and challenge yourself, like, okay, like, are there any items on this list that could be fully automated? Like, there's a lot of online automation tools out there that you could use. Like, the one I use is Zapier, and it basically automates a lot of the processes that we used to do manually, especially like integrating the various software products that we use for management and marketing. So, automating a couple of tasks is something that you could be looking at, and that will decrease your workload. Another thing that you could be looking at altogether is evaluating, like, hey, are all of these processes actually necessary? This is something we haven't talked about yet, because, frankly, like, every single business, up to the point that they start treating this consciously, like, they usually have a lot of wasteful processes, like stuff that we do because it's the way it's always been done. But do we really need to do that? Like, is that the best use of our time? Could we replace this process with something that's more efficient? Could we, like, let's say if you followed like the previous parts of this live stream, like, I'm not a huge fan of social media, so I'm going to use that example. Like, hey, I'm posting 5 times on social media every single day, and it takes so much of my time. Like, could I eliminate this process altogether because it doesn't actually get me results, and use that time to actually get some lead generation and direct response marketing happening? Like, those are the kinds of things that you can start looking at as well when you actually have a list of your processes. And actually, in terms of paying your employee/agency more, that could be one of the solutions as well. Like, if you actually figure out you have a couple of wasteful processes and you eliminate some of them, that means you don't have to pay for those hours anymore. Or you might be able to figure out, like, hey, I can swap this activity for something that generates more revenue. Now, that would be a revenue generating question, and I don't really know what your business does. So, you can definitely come to me with revenue generating questions as well during the next live stream. But those are the things that I would be looking at in a nutshell in the beginning to start getting organized. As I said, we have actually done this at my company as well, and it has allowed us to do just a lot of decisions that made sense after the fact, but we would have never known if we wouldn't have done this process. Like, it became abundantly clear for us that, hey, we actually have to hire an assistant for some of our employees. It became clear, like, hey, we can eliminate some of these tasks. Like, you don't know until you don't know. And, it's impossible to keep all of your business processes in your head. Like, get a spreadsheet, get a Trello doc, and, whatever works for you. So, those were my questions for today. And this was my first ever mentor session. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really hope that I managed to provide some value for you guys. AO has been just hugely helpful in me becoming a happy human being, and depends on what you call success. I would consider myself, from my own point of view, successful, and I really have AO to thank for that in many ways. So, this was my first ever mentor session. My name is Gabor Racz, or you can call me Gabs, which is my nickname. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.